Hey guys, Spencer here, bringing you another cool interview. This one is with Daniel from the Fitness FAQs YouTube channel. We were able to get a hold of Daniel and sit down for an hour to talk about bodyweight training. Now for those of you that are doubting that bodyweight training can get you strong and fit, we're going to show you a little clip of Daniel doing some exercise in his backyard. And keep in mind that the only training Daniel does is bodyweight training. He doesn't go to a gym, he doesn't lift weights like, you know, the typical bodybuilding routine or anything like that. This is all he does. Check this out. I'd highly encourage you, if you have a gym membership, to go to your gym and try and do muscle ups like that, where he pulls himself up all in one movement into a muscle up, because those are insanely difficult. I can't get close to doing one, and he makes it look so easy. We talk about how Daniel got into bodyweight training and a little bit about motivation and how to keep your motivation to continue to train up. We also talked about what exercises Daniel found were best for getting into good shape and getting stronger versus what things that he spent his time doing that didn't really matter in the long run. We also talk about preventing injury because, you know, like any type of fitness endeavor, the minute you start pushing your body further than it's used to being pushed, you're going to have to make sure you do things properly. So we talk a bit about that and how you can minimize the chances of losing training time because of an injury. We talked about supplements and diet and which ones you should take, what things have worked for Daniel and what hasn't. And we also talked about what someone should do if they want to start bodyweight training today. You know, what moves do I do? I just do push-ups on the ground? We answered all those questions in this interview. So enjoy the interview, guys, and we'll see you again soon. What kind of exercise did you do before getting into bodyweight training?
Okay, before I got into bodyweight training, I started training a discipline called parkour. For those that aren't familiar with it, it's basically training in a way where you move from one destination to the other in the most efficient way possible, so trying to get through your environment very quickly. And what interested me with that was that on the side, obviously, to keep your body healthy, you need to do a lot of bodyweight conditioning. So for a few years, I trained parkour. I really enjoyed it. But then after a while, I got to a point where I was progressing, and to get better, you need to do more dangerous stuff to push yourself further. And I realized I was doing it mainly for the bodyweight training aspect. So I decided to quit doing that and pursue some bodyweight training seriously and actually having set workouts.
Okay, before you were doing the parkour, were you doing were you going to a gym or were you in good shape, naturally sort of thing?
To be honest with you, I was your standard teenager, a little bit chubby. I was playing table tennis for a few years, but nothing really that strenuous, so no gym or bodyweight stuff at that point, no.
Okay. And when you got into parkour originally, was there any motivation like, oh, I might lose a bit of weight, I might get into good shape, or was it more of, hey, this is lots of fun, I want to do more of this?
Yeah, it was more just to explore the movement. It wasn't really to get any type of physical results. It was just to have fun and pretty much just play around.
Okay, cool. I'm finding that's an interesting way for people to become motivated, because some people, you know, they'll motivate themselves in wanting to change their body, and that won't always work for everyone. And for some people, the whole idea of, hey, this is really fun is a cool way of going about it.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, especially now. I thought I wouldn't be as dedicated if I didn't enjoy what I'm doing. So definitely for the beginner, it's all about finding an activity that gets you active, is fairly strenuous, but it's also at the same time enjoyable.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that bodyweight training is overlooked when people are trying to get into good shape?
Yeah, definitely, because the common person thinks that they need weights or some kind of external stimulus to develop muscle, but that's not true, because a muscle doesn't know whether it's being contracted by an external weight or your own body weight. So as long as there's a large stimulus and there's a strain on the muscle, you should be fine. And you can work your way up to various progressions with bodyweight training. And I think that it's a matter of people not knowing that there's a very vast number of exercises and progressions that you can do once a standard push-up, a standard dip becomes too easy.
Yeah. During your answer there, I'm going to put like a little video of you just showing how much muscle you put on so people can see that you can get into really good shape just
Yeah.
through bodyweight training. So as far as like bodyweight training, like the movements you perform, which ones have come easiest to you and which have been the hardest to either learn or be able to do?
Well, for me, with the bodyweight training, I find that it's a bit easier. I'm not saying it's easy.
Hmm.
It's still challenging, but pulling movements for me seem a bit easier. So muscle ups, one arm pull ups, I found that I had a better ability to obtain those skills in comparison to an exercise such as a planche, which takes a lot more effort for me.
Hmm. When you started pull-ups, how many do you think you could get in a row?
With full range of motion, probably about 4 to 6.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's probably where most people would be when they start. And what are you at now for in a row for pull-ups?
Well, I stopped training endurance a while ago, but at my best was probably about 30
Wow.
without stopping and full range of motion. Yeah.
Was that when you uploaded that video to Naso? They
No. That was I uploaded that this year, but I'm talking when I was training for endurance, specifically the Barbarian requirements. That
okay.
was when I was able to do around 30 because the requirement was to do 25 pull-ups after having just done 5 muscle-ups. So you can imagine how hard that'd be. Yeah.
All right, and we're going to talk about the Barbarians in a little bit. Um, the next thing I want to ask you is, have there been any little actions that you've taken that have gotten you big results?
To be honest with you, not really. Like, if I was to say one thing that would help everyone out, no matter what type of physical activity it is,
Hmm.
consistency.
Hmm.
It's simple to understand, but it's very difficult to actually apply it. That's my biggest tip. Be
Hmm.
consistent. You don't have to kill yourself every workout. As long as if you're being consistent, training, 3, 4, 5 days consistently every week, then you will definitely see results.
Do you have any tips for people that are struggling with consistency?
Um, well, I think that these people that struggle often have too many goals or a very unrealistic goal
Hmm.
to strive for at the start. So pick 1 or 2 objectives that are reasonable and try and go for those. Because if you can achieve those, then you'll think to yourself, wow, I didn't realize I could do this. And you'll move on to greater and greater things and you'll constantly be able to push yourself.
Okay, yeah. Have you done anything that you thought would give you a big result, like making your sleep better or eating a cleaner diet, and you found that it didn't really affect you as much as you thought it would?
I thought that training more with higher volume
Hmm.
would naturally make you be able to do more of X. But unfortunately, that brought on a lot of injuries for me.
Hmm.
And that's one thing I wouldn't encourage people to do is try and push too hard because most people are still fairly young and they look up to these people they see on the internet, not realizing that they've been training for probably 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, yeah,
It's important to take it slow. It's still
um,
challenging.
yeah. How have you dealt with your injuries? And then how did you injure yourself? And are there any precautions you'd recommend others take?
Okay. Well, my main injuries started in the beginning of 2011. The
Hmm.
first I got was elbow tendonitis. I think it's called elbow. I forgot the technical name for it, but it's basically an inflammation about the tendon,
Hmm.
and it gets very sensitive when you're performing exercise. Um, After that, I took a bit of rest, but not enough. So I continued to train through it, which is the worst thing you can possibly do. And it came back even worse, which required a longer layoff. And then when I eventually got back to training again, I was at the park training with a friend
Hmm.
and I was practicing some human flags. And this isn't a skill I usually practice. And when you're with someone, you want to train a bit harder.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
so I found out the next day that I could barely raise my shoulder up in front of me. And that was without any weight. It was
Hmm.
trying to move my hand up. And I visited the physiotherapist and I needed to take 1.5, 2 months off. And then following that, I needed to do about 4 to 6 weeks of gradual rehabilitation. So some precautions for that would be do not neglect warm-ups. Listen to your body if it's saying something's wrong. Don't try and push through it. Take 1 week off, because what's 1 week when you could potentially, if you push through it, have to take several months off like I did. And very important is joint rehabilitation, so strengthening the joints, etc.
And do you have any videos on your YouTube channel that maybe I could link to that deal with that?
Definitely, especially if you are going to be doing handstands. I've got a wrist rehabilitation routine, so it's various stretches you can do to safely warm up your wrist prior to doing any handstand or anything that could stress your wrist out.
Okay.
I plan on making more videos in relation to safety aspect in the future, though, so look out for that.
All right. I'll link to the wrist one below. And obviously, if you make some others, I'll update and put those there too. I remember I have a cottage up north, and I was swimming across the lake with my friend. We decided to do a challenge. And we got there and we got back, and it wasn't that long, probably like maybe 2 or 3 kilometers total. But I remember laying in bed that night, and my shoulder, the right one, was just, it was aching more than, like, I was almost in tears from how much it was hurting. So definitely, like, prehab is a very, very important thing for people to do.
And the thing that's bad is that unless you have an injury, you think you're invincible. And unfortunately, it almost takes a slight injury for you to realize that, hey, I'm not Superman. I need to take rest. I need to take care of my body.
Was the elbow tendonitis, was that from overuse?
Yes, I think it was a mixture of things. It was overuse and perhaps training and exercise I wasn't actually ready for. Because I was doing, are you aware of the back lever?
Okay,
you know what that is?
Yeah.
I was doing that on rings, and the proper way you're supposed to do it to prepare your tendons for harder exercise later on is you're supposed to have your hands, you're facing that way. So it puts a lot of stress on the elbow tendon here.
Okay.
I believe that's what made it flare up.
Okay. If you were starting over again, would you spend more time doing certain movements or dialing in nutrition, or what do you think has gotten you to your current strength level the fastest?
Okay, well, definitely with bodyweight exercises, I'd highly recommend that you practice skills with straight arms, such as handstands, planches, etc. Because I made the mistake of starting out with planches doing bent arm stuff, because that's all I saw on the internet. I didn't actually know any better. So that set me back a long time, because to actually get better at the real planche, you need to have strong straight arm strength. So that's a big tip to those out there who are looking to get into the journey towards getting the planche. But also in terms of nutrition, for my first few years I was working out. I'm sure if you look back to one of my first videos, I was doing a handstand tutorial. I was a little bit chubbier there, so it's very important to take care of your nutrition. Just see what works for you, manipulate certain variables, but mainly cut out junk food, sodas, stuff like that.
With nutrition, what have you found works for you?
Well, I'm still experimenting with what works for me, but lately I've been trying to follow higher protein, high fat, and lower carbs. I think that's working quite well for me. My energy is pretty consistent throughout the day. I don't have those insulin spikes anymore, so I'm starting to enjoy that.
That's so sort of like a paleo diet, it sounds like.
Yeah. But I still do have some carbohydrates, but nowhere near as many as I did, 2.5, 3 years ago.
Okay.
And not the bad type anyway.
Yeah. Do you take any supplements?
Well, at the moment I take whey protein, but not all the time. That's the only real supplement I've taken in terms of, the bodybuilding supplement. But for joint health, I take fish oil and also vitamin C, and I've found those to be quite beneficial. I haven't actually had any flare-ups, and it's particularly good if you don't have a really high diet, with fish included. So yeah, I take whey protein every now and then, but I can't say I take pre-workouts or creatine. I'm not saying creatine's bad, but I'm just saving that for later on because I want to reach my natural limit before I start taking stuff like that. And especially for the pre-workouts, I don't think they're very suitable for younger people because, I mean, let's face it, we're young. We should have heaps of energy. We want to save the pre-workouts possibly, later in life.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, pretty much just got caffeine in them anyway, so that's my take on it.
Have you tried any supplements that didn't work at all?
I took glutamine for a while,
Mm-hmm.
come to think of it, but I didn't really see much improvement in anything, any recovery ability.
Yeah.
I think nature. So
What about vitamin D? There's a lot of talk about vitamin D lately and how healthy it is for you. Do you take that, or I know you're in Melbourne, Australia, so you've got sunshine all the time, right? So yeah, that's wicked. So yeah, I guess you're lucky on that aspect. I'm here in Toronto, so we've got winter and snow right now. So vitamin D time.
I've never taken it myself, but it could be useful depending on your situation, like you said.
Mm-hmm. So if someone was to begin bodyweight training today, they'd never done any bodyweight training, maybe they've done some sit-ups and push-ups in their room before, where would you recommend they start?
Well, there's a few basic movements in bodyweight training, and it's important you start with the basics to prepare yourself for the harder moves later on. So I'd definitely recommend starting off with some basic full range pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, some tricep dips, some basic bodyweight squats, various lunges, dips and push-ups. So just the basics to get started, focusing on the quality. That's super important, the quality of each rep, because there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, I can do X amount of push-ups, but you'll see and they're doing like a third of the range that a real push-up is. So the take-home message from this is I'd much rather see you do a workout of 10 to 15 challenging push-ups where you're really pushing yourself through the full range of motion, using a tempo that will challenge you as opposed to high reps.
Okay. And for quality of movement, your YouTube channel is great for that because you have a lot of tutorials on different moves. Are there any other resources or websites you'd suggest people look into that are interested in bodyweight training?
Yeah, there's a good website if you're more interested in the gymnastics side of bodyweight training. It's called gymnasticsbodies.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Come to think of it, there's not many sites. You can also go to barbarians.com and there's a nice forum there where you can get advice from other people. But that's probably one of the best sources for the gymnastics side. I'm trying to be the one-stop shop for bodyweight training, so come check out my channel.
All right, there we go. And so the Barbarians, who are those guys?
Well, there were two dudes that started it, Zachabelli, aka Zeph, and Jude, in 2004. Basically, a couple of guys who really enjoyed bodyweight training, doing pull-ups, and since 2004, they've been growing their team in New York. And it was only in the last few years that they wanted to branch out and reach more of an international audience. And they set a series of requirements. And if you were to complete those requirements, no matter where you were in a specified time limit and within the form that was required by the owners, you could actually become a barbarian. So I was able to complete those requirements in 2010 and join the team. So in short, it's basically a group of like-minded, elite bodyweight training guys.
Okay, and I'm just doing a Google search for the requirements here. You can verify if these are correct. So you have to do 5 muscle-ups, then 45 dips, then 25 pull-ups, 55 push-ups, and then 5 muscle-ups?
Yep, all in under 6 minutes. It should have that.
Oh my gosh, in under 6 minutes too.
You feel pretty nauseous after you do that, man.
Yeah.
Don't want to go there.
When you tried the first time, did you complete it or did you have to work at it for a bit?
No way.
Yeah.
It took me from when I wanted to start doing it, approximately a year to achieve it. So there's a few videos. I think I posted about 3 or 4 until I actually got the set requirements. And when I was doing it, originally there was older requirements which were easier,
Yeah.
and I was just about to get those, but then they updated them, and I had to train even harder to get the new ones. But I guess that made it all more worthwhile.
Do you think you could still do those at like this current time?
It wouldn't be pretty if I was to get the numbers out. I wouldn't be able to do it as clean as I did when I actually posted that video due
Yeah.
to coming back from injury and all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm checking out the Gymnastics Bodies website too. So
Really good source. The site's run by one of the elite coaches in gymnastics.
hmm
He's got some very good articles on there. You should check it out.
we'll put a link to that below as well. So you're involved in the YouTube Next Trainer program. What's that been like?
That's been really good, man, because it's allowed me to, get motivation from the other top YouTube fitness personalities.
hmm
Um, get lecturing from various people regarding how best to get our videos seen on YouTube, how to tag properly, how to use thumbnails correctly, the best way to have a format, stick to a format that works for you, that's entertaining for people,
hmm
uh, uh, and just basically working with other YouTube celebrities.
Okay. And I guess that's cool for the people that are listening to this interview. That'd be a cool thing for them to check out too, because they can see some other trainers and what they're up to and whatnot. I think you're the only one covering body weight exercise.
Oh, there's actually someone else, but yeah, he
Okay.
does more interviews and stuff of that nature.
I see. All right. So what's next for you, and where can people learn more about your training and exercise?
Well, from here on, I plan to obviously keep making the free YouTube videos, helping people out as much as I can. So more workouts, more tutorials on various skills. Plan to do more videos on stretching. I've started a new series called Stretching in 60, where
hmm
I show various ways to stretch a muscle, uh, so you can do it anywhere pretty much. Um, more joint preparation. My next project I'm looking to work on is put together an ebook for beginners.
Okay.
So pretty much a good guide to get you started so that you can eventually work on harder moves and look on my channel. But in terms of where I want to keep going, also keep developing my website, FitnessFAQs.tv. So it's pretty much an organized location where you can easily find all my videos.
hmm
Also got a section there if you're interested in online personal training. I've trained over 20, 25 people in this year alone, so some good results coming out of that. But yeah, that's my plans for the current moment.
All right. Cool. And last question: what are your goals with your training going forward?
I want to improve my hand balancing. I really have a goal to achieve a really solid one-arm handstand
hmm
because there's not many people that can actually hold a perfect one-arm handstand. I really want to separate myself from the pack. Obviously, keep improving my general body weight skills other than the handstand. So becoming better at front lever, one-arm pull-ups, things like that. Um,
Hey,
yeah,
do you think a one arm handstand push up is possible? Have you ever seen that been done?
I've seen one, but they don't go down really far. It just seems like I'm not sure if it's even possible, but
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will beast that out.
Maybe you'll be that guy one day.
Maybe.
All right. Thanks so much for talking to us, man. And yeah, take her easy. Have a good one.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Spencer.
Hey guys, I forgot to ask Daniel one question, and we were laughing after because I told him we're gonna have to redo the entire interview. But anyways, here's the other question I forgot to ask. As far as equipment for people to purchase, is there anything you'd recommend people start off with?
Well, one of the cheapest options, which would be good, would be getting a set of push-up handles
Mm-hmm.
because it's very safe on your wrist, so you won't really get any injuries, especially when you're starting out. But if you're looking to make a bit more of an investment, I'd really recommend getting what's called a power tower. It's basically a dip station slash pull-up station. So you've got the pull-ups on one side and the dips on the other side. And usually you can do your push-ups on there as well and tricep dips. So there's a whole range of things that you can do on there. and they usually cost anywhere from $150 to $300 US, I imagine.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this interview. I hope you enjoyed it. You can learn more about Daniel at his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/FitnessFAQs. And if you didn't watch this on our website and you want to see more interviews like this one, you can go to bodyhack.com. Peace.